this module, we're going to go ahead and remind you about that fifth step of hypothesis testing, right? It's this reflection on statistical practices. And so we ask certain questions. Was the data collected appropriately so it's representative, right? Was it done in a random manner? Was there some random assignment, right? The key is that there's randomness to that process. Is the data independent, right? We can use the 5% rule to determine that the sample is less than 5% of the population. Then we can assume independence. Is the sample size large enough too, right? To assume normality, that we have a normal distribution. And then for hypothesis tests, we add what I highlight here, which is called power and possible errors for a test. We're going to focus on what we call type 1 and type 2 errors. So this is unique to hypothesis testing, kind of this idea if we do make a decision or when we do make a decision, what are the types of errors that potentially could be emerging from our decisions, right? And that's our step 5. So in an example we have here, you can read the scenario here. We do determine in this case with a sample size of 500 that it's randomly collected, as it's stated here. So we're going to assume it's representative. There is independence because, again, we're going to assume 500. The sample size is less than 5% of the population. So we'll assume independence there. Since this is a categorical variable, right? We're looking at a test of proportions. We do the NP/NQ rule to make sure that the number of successes and failures is greater than 10. And so then it is, so then we know the sample size is large enough. Now, additional questions, that'd be up to you. Again, that varies. There's no right answer. It's what the researcher would be indicating after they've done their research and then ask certain questions about. Now, what am I thinking about? Specifically new to this section is what we call a type 1 and type 2 error. So after we do a hypothesis test and come up with a conclusion to reject or do not reject, we then have to worry about, are we making an error with our decision? Remember, there's variation in the data. We're not saying for sure that these are. We're saying we're rejecting or failing to reject the null hypothesis. So what do we mean by error in this case? Right? Well, error doesn't mean a mistake. Error is not a mistake has been made with our calculations, right? In this case, we refer to an error as the possibility of making a wrong conclusion purely due to the natural variability, right? Because when you collect data, it's random. It has a lot of variability in it. And if we do another sample, we may not get the exact same results. So that's what we mean by due to the natural variability. You may do everything right in your analysis, your data, your collection, and we still could have a type 1 or type 1 or type 2 error.